Technology is advancing at an incredible speed, and we are not just talking about artificial intelligence or augmented reality, but construction is also seeing some very surprising advances. We've seen on this channel how we insulated a bathroom thermally with construction panels or how we created natural stone with mortar. Today we'll explore how ceramics have evolved to become magnetized. Let's begin. But what exactly is magnetized ceramic? Magnetic ceramic is porcelain that has a ferromagnetic material on its back side, which allows the pieces to be joined together by magnetic fixation. That is, companies apply a ferromagnetic coating to the ceramic, and when it comes into contact with the ferromagnetic coil in the wall, the ceramic becomes completely attached. But let's analyze it by comparing how long it would take us to tile a bathroom in the traditional way. The outcome depends on whether we remove the old material or put up drywall or plaster on the walls. But could we say that between making the mortar, aligning the tiles, placing the top part on an iron bar, letting them dry, and installing the ones at the bottom, we could be talking about several days or even weeks if our room is very large and depending on how many layers of mortar we need to apply. Let's compare these steps with the time it would take us to install the magnetic ceramic tiles. For that, we would need to install the structure and the drywall panels, and then we would move on to installing the magnetic tiles. Installing these tiles, to give a simple example, would be like putting magnets on a refrigerator, but following a precise order. This technique is a revolution, since it's hard to find a product that offers new features in its installation, like this one does. And when we talk about features, we mainly mean the saving of time and physical effort in installing them. But let's analyze step by step how this ceramic would be installed. There are two types of installation, those for tiling on the wall and those for floors. What do we need to install them on the wall? Well, basically assemble the structure and the plasterboard panels, which are already covered with a sheet that has magnetic properties. And after putting this magnetic base, so to speak, the magnetic ceramic would come next. When it comes to installing the tiles, it's as easy as bringing them close to the sheet and leaving the expansion joint between them. Once all the tiles are in place, all that's left is to seal them with grout. In this case, we need to use flexible grout. The best solution is to take the cement-based grout, mix it with water, and add latex. And that way we would get the perfect texture to be able to grout our magnetic tiles. What would be the steps to install the floor? For flooring, installation is even faster. We would apply self-leveling mortar on the surface, in case it isn't completely straight and flat, and the magnetic coil directly on the floor. And on top of it, you have to place the ferromagnetic ceramic, also leaving space for the joints, which will be sealed once all the pieces are in place. Logically, installing the floor is much faster than installing the walls, but in both cases, there is something very important to keep in mind for this method to work, and that is that the surface must be completely straight and flat. This requirement is essential for it to work properly. Why? Basically, because if there isn't good contact between the ferromagnetic coil and the glaze of the tiles, it won't provide the grip needed to keep them attached to the wall. Speaking with Peronda, which is one of the pioneering companies in marketing this type of tile in Spain, they told me that for use, they usually recommend ceramics with a flat or as flat as possible rib. The ribs of the tiles are the back part of a tile that has that rough texture and allows the tile to adhere to the surface. Thanks to the porosity, the mortar or adhesive cement grips better. Well, if we use this method for tiles that have very pronounced or marked ribs, we should apply more layers of glaze to these tiles so that they have the maximum possible contact with the coils we have placed on the wall. And now let's look at the million-dollar question that I'm sure many of you are asking yourselves. And that is whether this magnetic field can affect people's health. And the answer is no, since many studies have been conducted that confirm this. In fact, cell phones emit 16 times more radiation than this type of ceramics. What advantages does this type of ceramic have compared to traditional ceramics? Well, one of the main advantages is that once we have installed the entire structure that will support our tiles, we can change them very easily. Whether it's because we've gotten tired of them, because one has broken, or because we want to add a different touch to them. It also reduces installation time. As we've already seen, there are far fewer steps and the speed when placing the pieces is very noticeable. Could we consider this a dry installation? What does that mean? Well, since we don't have to use mortar to adhere the ceramic, we can consider it a dry installation, so we don't create any dirt, debris, or dust. We will achieve water tightness in the area. However, in the area where we have placed screws, we need to apply a sealant to ensure this water tightness. We have already seen all its advantages, but there is one clear disadvantage, so to speak. And that is that currently, this type of tile is marketed for large areas, such as local businesses, developers, and so on. And the reason is not because of its price, which I will explain to you later, but rather because of the type of product. Even so, I'm sure that sooner rather than later, we'll end up seeing this type of tile in more than one house and in more than one home. In fact, in other countries, they are already being installed, because I actually discovered these tiles on the Scott Brothers show. They were doing a renovation and suggested installing this type of magnetic ceramic tile on the floor of the house. It really caught my attention, so I researched if it was also being manufactured in Spain. And tada! 3 companies are pioneering the development. But, as I mentioned before, I have spoken with Peronda Group Sociedad Anónima about their Nomad system. And most crucially, the price too. To know a little bit about what the approximate cost of having this kind of technology at home would be, and I'm going to tell you. For the walls, the drywall plus the magnetic coil, which already comes all together. It would be around 15 euros per meter. The application of ferromagnetic enamel on the ceramic would cost about 15 euros per square meter, also approximately. If we add the drywall with the coil, the application of the enamel, and the tiles, we could say that the approximate cost starts at about 45 euros per square meter. This is for the walls. As for the floor, the magnetic coil costs about 10 euros per square meter approximately for applying the ferromagnetic enamel to the ceramic. We would be talking about the same 15 euros per square meter, and if we add all this plus the tiles, we would be starting from 39 euros per square meter. The perception of affordability is subjective, and I won't make a judgment on whether it's cheap or expensive. But I must say I was very surprised. Because when we remodeled our bathroom and bought some tiles that we loved, we paid 30 euros per square meter. That's not even counting the tile adhesive we used to stick them on. I thought that since it was a very technological system, the cost would be much higher and wouldn't be so close to the traditional system. So, at least for me, in this sense, it surprised me, and I would like to know, what do you all think about this type of ceramic? Can you let me know in the comments, and especially would you install it at home? I would love to try it. I have to say I would love to see it and install it. It must be amazing. I hope you enjoyed this video, that it was useful, and I'll see you very soon in upcoming videos. See you soon. Thank you.